Okay, so today I want to talk about how I make my YouTube videos from start to finish, basically from the process of coming up with an idea, to shooting, to editing, to finally publishing and creating thumbnails and all that stuff. So since a lot of people have been asking, I thought I would just run you through my weekly process for making YouTube videos. Before you start shooting or editing anything, you need an idea of a video that you're going to make, which is often the most challenging part. Coming up with ideas is always difficult, and this especially applies to YouTube videos just because there's so much content, so many things have already been done, but there's also a lot of opportunities to get creative and come up with new ideas. So my process for coming up with ideas varies a lot based on what's relevant, what I see and everything like that, but to keep track of all of it, I have a notes page in my phone and I basically just add different ideas to it whenever something pops into my head. So if I'm at the grocery store or something, I think of a video idea, I'll just write it down really quick just so I don't forget, and then I can come back to that list whenever I need to make a video and see through that list what I think will be the best thing to make for that week. But I think the most important thing about ideas is just thinking about them constantly, so eventually one will come to you, maybe in an interesting location. So once I have my idea, it's time to shoot the video. Actually, I would say that in terms of time management, shooting the video is about 30% of the time, and then doing everything else is the rest of the time, the rest 70%. So that's editing, publishing, creating thumbnails, all that stuff takes significantly longer than video shooting. So once I have my idea though, I need to go shoot the video. So first things first, I'll usually shoot a talking head sequence very similar to this one. Basically, I'll just have a simple mic setup, simple camera setup, just a nice looking composition, and just shoot the majority of the video's content, just discussing everything that I want to cover in that video. Now for these talking head sequences, I don't write a script of entirely what I'm going to say, but I do type out some notes just of things I want to cover so I don't forget anything when I'm talking about it. I also find that just writing a script and reading off of that sounds a lot less natural than just kind of coming up with what you're saying in the moment. So that's usually how I do it. As you can see, I have a notes app open right now that I'm reading off of and just analyzing what I'm talking about so I don't forget anything important. And I'm gonna be honest, talking head sequences are very challenging for me at least. I know a lot of other people struggle with it as well. Just to seem natural on camera, I'm working on it constantly and hopefully it's getting a bit better video by video, but it really just takes a lot of practice and trying the lines over and over again. I do not get these lines perfectly each try. If we reference a previous video, you can really see how many times I have to pause, restart the line, cut in between, and just make it work and sound good in the edit, but it is not super smooth when it comes directly to camera. And it's also one of those things, and it's also one of those projects, and it's also one of those projects, and it's also one of those projects, and it's also one of those projects where I'm hoping to film and document everything that goes on, but I also want to have a good time. And when I said big project, that's, and when I said big film project, that's what I meant. One little piece of advice that I do have about talking head sequences is that if you just try and talk a little bit slower, you can think about what you're gonna say in the next sentence and make it a bit more coherent rather than trying to talk really quickly, which is a problem that I have. I just talk too fast and can't keep up with what I'm trying to say, and so it often gets all flubbed and messed up. So just trying to talk a little bit slower can definitely help with talking head sequences. So once I've shot the main A-roll, I now need to shoot B-roll or find archival footage or shoot a screen recording if I'm doing a tutorial. I just need to acquire that other footage that I'm gonna overlay on top of the talking head sequence for the video, just to make sure that it's not just me sitting here talking to you the entire time. There's something going over the footage to make it look a bit more interesting. And from there, I'm done shooting all the video footage for my YouTube video, so I just need to import that video footage into my editing software, which is usually Final Cut Pro, and start chopping away at the video. And when it comes to editing, comfort, efficiency, and convenience are very important factors, which brings me to the sponsor for today's video. So this company called Grovemade recently sent me a bunch of their products, and basically they make desk accessories that are very beautiful. They're handcrafted in a very nice wood and also sorts of metals and vegetable leathers, just really nice materials, and they're made actually in Portland, Oregon with a relatively small team, a pretty small company, so that's always super cool to see and super cool to support smaller businesses like that. So their products obviously look really good on a desk. They just help to create that nice aesthetic atmosphere that helps when you're editing, but in addition to that, they also really help with ergonomics. So with their monitor and laptop stands, for example, you're gonna be looking at the correct angle, so you're not craning your neck down, you have a nice posture looking forward, which really helps. They also have a really nice keyboard holder and mouse pad in addition to like a headphone holder, so you can really keep everything very organized, helps with ergonomics, and just makes your editing workflow a lot quicker in my opinion. And like I said, all their products are super high quality, they're inspected a bunch, and they're built in a pretty small place, so you can expect very good quality. The wood smells absolutely amazing. It still smells really good after a while of use, and every time I take my headphones off the headphone holder onto my head, it just smells really good. So if you're into that, into the aesthetic, ergonomics, all that stuff, there's a link down below for Grovemade. Check it out. They have really cool products, and I think you'll really like them. But from here, let's jump into my editing software and I can show you how I specifically edit and organize my YouTube videos. So let's just jump into a video edit project I made for a YouTube video a couple weeks ago. If we just double click into it, again, I use Final Cut Pro to edit everything in, and this is how I basically set it up. So as you can see over here, we have my main footage. So I basically just have that initial A-roll and then just some B-roll that I'm gonna be using, as well as some additional audio tracks, music, stuff like that, just general B-roll. And yeah, that's essentially it. And then I'm just gonna start composing my project. So if I click inside of this compound clip, you can actually see the edit that I've done. So if we zoom in here, you can see it's quite simple actually. I basically just have my main A-roll laid out, I cut it in between segments, and then I overlaid some B-roll on top of it. Of course, there are some adjustment layers here, so you can see for color grading, color grade on and off, pretty simple, just as an adjustment layer. Up here I have an intro sequence, just a little montage of video clips with some music underneath. I use markers to determine when I'm going to cut the videos to connect to the beat of the music, but that's essentially it. And I just have some underlaying tracks underneath the talking head sequences just to add a little bit more depth there. Again, more adjustment layers for color grading, more B-roll overlays just on segments where it makes sense. And then I just have a simple outro here. So I just put that in at the end, fade it out with the music as I fade that out, and that's essentially the entire edit. Now before I export my videos, I'm gonna create a compound clip. So basically I just select everything in that project, right click it, create a compound clip that looks like this, and essentially just puts everything in one place. And the reason that I do this is so I can control the audio levels and make sure they sound good going into YouTube. So basically in my audio settings, you can see I added an adaptive limiter, which basically just brings up all the levels of my audio, but make sure they don't clip. So it brings them to just under 0 dB. So it sounds good in YouTube. It's not too quiet, but they're not clipping at the same time. So that's a super important thing to remember, and it really makes it sound better when you publish it. And then right here on top of my clip, I suppose you could say this is another little sponsored ad. I say music from Artlist because that's where I get all my music. It's super good. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description. But basically I just fade that in, add this right here, and I just added that because I forgot it in the previous compound clip, so I just stuck it right on top. And from there, then I'll just go to export my file, and save it, upload it to YouTube, and that's essentially it. When it comes to making a thumbnail for my videos, basically I just open a new project in Pixelmator, which is equivalent to Photoshop or something like that, and then I'll just import a photo that I want to be the main photo for the thumbnail. From there, I'll just work around, try and find some overlays, make it look more interesting, add some text, add different blending modes, all those sorts of things. And then once I have all the elements I want on the thumbnail, like some masking, different text, overlays, stuff like that, like I said, I'll just select all the different files and group them together into one final bit, and then I will add some additional effects on top of that, like grain, some light leaks, some vignetting, things like that, just to make it look a little bit more dynamic. But from there, I just export the thumbnail as a JPEG, and I make sure it's under 2 megabytes because that's the maximum YouTube will accept, and I'm basically ready to upload from there. Anyway, that's basically it for today. I hope this video was helpful to those people who've been asking about how I make my YouTube videos, or to anyone else who stumbled across this video on the internet. If you like this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe it down below. It really helps me out a lot, and I will see you all next week.
Nation, them a fight against nation. What a mistake, great tribulation. She what a